The higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly. My friends, let's make something clear from the very start. Silence is not weakness. That's a lie the world sold you, so it could keep you chasing, explaining, proving yourself to people who were never listening in the first place. But today, we're flipping that script. Today, we're not talking about silence as surrender. No, we're talking about silence as strategy, as strength, as the ultimate mirror that forces someone to finally look at themselves without the mask, without the noise, without the ego's illusion of control. Picture this, a massive antique mirror in the middle of a dark, silent room. No music, no noise, no distractions, just stillness. Most people can't handle that room. They fidget, they squirm, because when the noise stops, the truth starts talking. And if someone wronged you, took your presence for granted, or played games with your heart, then your silence is the one thing they never prepared for. They were ready for your words. They were ready for a fight. But they weren't ready for the echo of their own thoughts bouncing around in that empty room you left behind. And I know what you've been told, folks. You've heard that if you care, you should reach out. That staying silent means you're bitter or worse, broken. But let me tell you something. The most powerful people in the world don't chase noise. They create impact through presence and absence. That's the truth no one teaches you. It's not about giving them the cold shoulder for drama. It's about giving them the quiet they need to finally hear the roar of their own mistakes. That's not revenge. That's growth. That's power. You ever tried ignoring a smoke alarm that won't stop beeping in the middle of the night? That's what your silence becomes after a few days. A small, annoying beep they try to tune out at first, but after a while, it's all they can hear. That's the magic of total silence. It starts off subtle, but over time, it becomes the loudest truth they've ever heard. And don't get me wrong, this isn't easy. Your mind will play tricks on you. You'll wonder if they're even thinking about you, if the silence is working. But here's what I want you to remember, and really let it sink in. You're not using silence to hurt them. You're using it to heal yourself, to realign your energy, to step back from the chaos and reclaim the self-respect you lost while trying to be seen, heard, or understood by someone who was too caught up in their ego to even look at you properly. This isn't about ghosting. It's about glowing in solitude. It's about understanding that when you pull your energy back, the real ones feel it, and the fake ones get exposed by it. So today, we're going to walk through what 30 days of total silence does to someone's ego, and I promise you, by the end, you won't be the same person you were when you clicked on this video. So hit that like button, smash that subscribe, and stay with me, because we're going to walk through this storm with stillness and come out more powerful than ever. Write this in the comments right now. I am the silence that reveals the truth. Say it loud. Say it proud. Show yourself. Show the world around you that you're no longer afraid to be the quiet that shakes the room. Let's begin. Number 1. Day 1 to 5. The echo chamber of ego. Silence is the ultimate weapon of power. Charles de Gaulle once said that, and my friends, if there's ever been a moment to truly grasp the weight of those words, it's right here in the first 5 days of your silence. This is where it all begins. Not just in their mind, but in yours too. This is where the battle lines are drawn. You're stepping away, pulling back and giving nothing but space. and it feels like nothing's happening. But, oh, something is happening. It always is. You just can't see it yet. See, the human ego is a fascinating creature. It's like this massive inflated balloon, and it'll do anything to keep from deflating. In these first 5 days, their ego is working overtime. It's standing tall, chest out, arms crossed, whispering to them, "You've got this under control. They'll be back. They always come back." They aren't panicking. Not yet. This isn't the moment where they crumble. This is the moment they sit comfortably in their illusion of control. Let me give you a metaphor to paint this picture perfectly. Imagine a house of mirrors at a carnival. Every reflection shows them what they want to see. Distorted images that make them feel bigger, taller, invincible. No matter where they turn, those mirrors reflect back ego, not reality. And this is exactly where they are in these early days. They've built this echo chamber of self-importance, this inner monologue that says, "I'm fine without them." They're the one who'll fold first. But here's where the psychological trap tightens. The ego feeds on predictability. It craves routine. The brain, wired for survival, loves patterns because patterns make the world feel safe. And if you've always been the one reaching out, the one chasing, the one filling the silence, then that pattern is what their ego has been dining on. Comfortably. Now that you've gone silent, that pattern's been shattered. But the mind? It doesn't notice the shatter right away. The cracks are hairline thin, almost invisible at first. The ego smooths over those cracks, tells them, "Don't worry. This is normal. They're just busy. They'll come back." The illusion holds for now. Let me ask you something, folks. Have you ever read through those countless relationship forums, those late-night threads where people pour out their anxieties? The number one fear you'll find in those spaces isn't about the silence itself. It's about what the silence means. Are they pulling away? Are they with someone else? Did I do something wrong? But those questions, they don't surface in the first 5 days for most people. The ego guards that door like a watchful sentinel. It refuses to let those thoughts through. Not yet. I've read story after story where someone ignored the first signs, convinced themselves that everything was fine because the illusion of control was too comfortable to confront. It's like standing on thin ice in spring. You don't notice the cracks forming beneath your feet until suddenly you hear that first faint creak. That's what your silence is doing in these first 5 days. It's softening the ground beneath their ego, but they can't feel it yet. Here's the lie they're telling themselves. They'll reach out first. It's not even a question in their mind. It's a belief, one that feels so real, so certain. Why? Because you've reinforced that belief in the past. You were always there. The texts, the check-ins, the small apologies even when they were at fault. That was the pattern. And the ego? It memorized every step of that dance. It's banking on the rhythm playing out again. But my friends, you've changed the music. You've pulled the plug on the stereo, and for the first time, there's silence. They can't hear it yet. They're still humming the tune in their head, convinced that nothing's different. But the absence of noise, that's what creates space for doubt to creep in. Just not yet. This is the toughest part, not for them, but for you. Because your ego is just as loud in these early days. You'll feel that itch, that pull to check their story, that urge to send a "just thinking of you" text. You'll tell yourself, "It's not a big deal. I just want to see how they're doing." But what's really happening is your old programming fighting for survival. The same way their ego is trying to keep its story intact. Yours is too. But here's the truth, and it might sting a little. Growth isn't supposed to be comfortable. Growth is like a snake shedding its skin. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, and it takes time before you realize just how much you've outgrown that old layer. These first 5 days, they're your shedding phase. Their ego can't feel the cracks yet, but yours can. And that's the battle, not with them, but with yourself. The human mind craves closure, craves certainty. Studies have shown that uncertainty triggers the same parts of the brain as physical pain. That's why silence feels so uncomfortable. It's the unknown. It's the gap between what we know and what we fear. And right now, both you and they are standing at opposite ends of that gap. You holding the silence, and them filling it with ego. But soon, my friends, that ego's going to run out of excuses. The house of mirrors, it'll start to crack. Those reflections they're clinging to, they'll distort in ways they can't ignore. But that doesn't happen yet. This is the calm before the storm. So, here's your power move today. Let the silence speak. Don't fill the space. Don't explain. Don't reach out. Let the ego puff its chest and tell them they're in control. Because, trust me, my friends, the silence is already working. It's softening the ground beneath that ego, preparing it to fall. And I want you to claim that strength right now. Write this in the comments. Say it loud. Say it proud. I let the silence speak. Show yourself. Show the world around you that you're done playing by their rules. That you're ready to let silence do the talking while you hold the power. Stay with me, folks, because this is just the beginning. The cracks may be invisible now, but wait until you see what happens when they start to spread. Number 2. Day 6 to 10. The first ripple of doubt. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Seneca's words ring loud in these next days, my friends. Days 6 through 10, the space where time slows down for them, where they start feeling every second of your absence like a drip, drip, drip of water in a silent room. This is where the first ripple of doubt begins to disturb the still surface of their mind. They're no longer floating in the echo chamber of their ego. Now, they're starting to notice something they hadn't expected, the emptiness. See, the human brain is a machine built for patterns. Every morning, it expects the sun to rise, your texts to come in, your presence to be felt. The predictable rhythm of life is comforting. It keeps the mind from spinning out of control. But when that pattern breaks, that's when the brain starts asking questions. And questions, my friends, are dangerous things. Here's your metaphor to sink into. Imagine a still pond on a windless day. The surface is smooth, undisturbed, a perfect mirror. But then a single drop of water falls in, just one, and that tiny drop sends ripples across the entire surface, distorting the reflection. That's your silence on day 6. The pond is their mind. The ripple is the first sign that something is off. They start noticing the gap, the missing text, the absence of your energy. But their ego, their ego is still clinging to the lie. They don't care. That's the story they tell themselves to avoid the discomfort of facing the truth. I'm fine. I don't even notice they're gone. But the ripple is there. The surface is disturbed. And no matter how hard they try to ignore it, they feel it. I've read through countless real-life stories on forums. People sharing their experiences when someone they thought they could take for granted suddenly disappeared. You know what happens around this time? They start checking their phone more often, not obsessively, at least not yet, but enough that they notice themselves doing it, enough that they wonder, why am I even looking? I don't care. But they do. That's the ripple working. This is where silence starts to amplify their deepest fear. Not that you're angry, not that you're hurt, but that you've moved on without them, that you've become irrelevant. And folks, irrelevance is the one thing the ego cannot tolerate. It can handle anger, it can even handle rejection, but being forgotten? That's where the panic begins to form, even if they don't recognize it yet. Here's where psychology backs this up. Studies on social exclusion show that when people feel ignored or excluded, the areas of their brain that process physical pain light up. That's right. Being ignored triggers the same response as being physically hurt. And that's what your silence is starting to do in these days. The pattern is broken. The drip, drip, drip of your absence is now a ripple disturbing their sense of self. But let me flip the script for a second, because I know you feel the ripple too. You're human. You're wondering, are they feeling this? Do they even notice? And that voice inside tries to pull you back into the pattern, tempting you to reach out, to test the waters. But here's the truth, my friends. If you disturb the ripple now, you stop the wave from forming. You short-circuit the very process that's starting to work in your favor. Back to them. Here's the lie they cling to in these days. They don't care. But every time they check their phone, every time they scroll through their feed, hoping to catch a glimpse of you, that lie weakens. Because if they didn't care, they wouldn't notice the ripple. They wouldn't feel the disturbance in the pond. It's like this. Imagine standing at the edge of a forest, hearing a faint rustle in the distance. You tell yourself it's nothing, the wind maybe. But the longer you stand there, the more you wonder, what if it's something else? That's how doubt creeps in. That's what your silence is doing. Planting that question mark in their mind that grows louder with time. Let's make it real. There's someone, right now, scrolling through their messages, seeing the gap where your name used to pop up. They're telling themselves it's fine, but every moment of your silence is a ripple that's spreading further across their mind. And that ripple, it's about to become a wave. So here's your power play, my friends. Stay steady. Let the ripple expand. Let the silence amplify the questions they don't want to face. And right here, right now, I want you to claim that power. Write this in the comments. I am the wave that shifts the tide. Say it loud. Say it proud. Show yourself. Show the world around you that you understand the power of patience, the strength of letting the silence do what words never could. Because, trust me, folks, this ripple, it's just the beginning. Stay with me, because by the time we hit day 11, that ripple becomes a crack in their reflection. And cracks? Oh, they're impossible to ignore. Number 3, day 11 to 15. The ego's armor starts to crack. The wound is the place where the light enters you. Rumi spoke those words centuries ago, my friends, but they echo louder than ever in these next crucial days. Day 11 to 15, the stretch where doubt becomes undeniable, where the ego's armor starts to crack, and they can't patch it up fast enough. The reflection in the mirror they once stood before, confident and untouchable. Now, it's showing hairline fractures they can't ignore. And the beauty of it? You haven't lifted a finger. Your silence has done the heavy lifting. But let me take you deeper into this. Imagine a dam holding back a river sturdy and impenetrable for years. That's their ego, strong, reinforced by patterns of you chasing, of you reaching out, of you reassuring them that they were the center of your world. But here's what they didn't expect: a crack. It doesn't happen all at once. First, it's just a thin line, barely visible. But the pressure? It's always there, mounting with every drop of water behind that dam. Your silence is that pressure, silent, steady, unrelenting. And now those first cracks, they're showing. Let's break down what's really happening inside their mind during these days. Up until now, they believed they still had control, that you were following the old script, playing the predictable role of the one who cares more, the one who eventually caves. But 11 days of silence, that's where their certainty begins to erode. This is where the questions they've been avoiding come rushing in. Did I push too hard? Did I take them for granted? Are they really gone this time? This is psychological warfare, folks. And the battlefield, it's inside their own mind. The ego, by nature, hates vulnerability. It thrives on illusion, the illusion of control, the illusion of superiority. But your absence strips those illusions away. Every day that passes without you reaching out is another inch of pressure behind that dam. I've read countless stories on relationship forums where people admit, usually around this point, that they start feeling restless. The pride that once kept them comfortable begins to feel claustrophobic. They scroll through old conversations, replay the last moments you shared, searching for signs, any clue to reassure themselves that the script is still intact. But here's the thing, they can't find it, because you've stopped playing by their script. The lie they've been clinging to is crumbling. I still have control. That lie worked in the first 10 days. It gave them peace, but now that peace is disturbed. The cracks in their ego are no longer invisible. They're starting to feel the pressure. Their brain begins to fill in the blanks. And when left alone with unanswered questions, the human mind tends to assume the worst. Think of it like this. Have you ever noticed how a single loose thread on a sweater can unravel the entire garment if pulled just right? That's your silence. They tug at the thread, thinking they'll get reassurance, thinking they'll find the same old pattern beneath it. But all they find is more unraveling. Here's a little fact to sit with. Research in cognitive dissonance shows that when people are faced with evidence that contradicts their self-image, they experience intense mental discomfort. And that discomfort, it forces them to either change their belief or double down on the lie. Right now, they're caught in that limbo. The dam is cracked, but they're still trying to patch it with denial. But make no mistake, they feel it. They feel the ground shifting beneath their feet. They're telling themselves stories. They're just busy. They're playing a game. But those stories aren't holding the same weight anymore. The control they once felt, slipping through their fingers, is now dripping like water through those cracks in the dam. And here's where your discipline is tested too. You might feel the urge to test the waters, to check if they've noticed. But remember, my friends, the dam only breaks if the pressure remains consistent. If you ease up now, if you send that message, you let them rebuild that illusion of control. Don't let that happen, because beneath that surface, you are the force. You are the pressure behind the dam. You are the current they didn't see coming. You are the reason those cracks will spread until they can't hold back the flood any longer. So right now, I want you to own that power. Write this in the comments. Say it loud. Say it proud. I am the force beneath the surface. Show yourself. Show the world around you that your silence holds more power than their words ever could, that you understand the art of patience, of letting the cracks form naturally. Stay with me, folks, because the dam hasn't burst yet, but it's close, and when it does, when the full weight of their loss hits them, that's when the real shift begins. Number 4, day 16 to 20, the fear of replacement. Nothing, to my way of thinking, is better proof of a well-ordered mind than a man's ability to stop where he is and pass some time in his own company. Seneca drops that gem, my friends, and right now, right here, day 16 to 20, they're failing that test miserably. This is the point where being alone with their thoughts becomes unbearable. The questions they've been shoving into the corners of their mind are now front and center, and the loudest one of all. Have I been replaced? See, the human mind hates a void. It's uncomfortable sitting in silence, especially when it's been used to being filled with attention, validation, and reassurance. When the mind doesn't know, it makes up stories. It fills in the blanks with the worst-case scenarios. And now, as your silence stretches into the 3rd week, they aren't just wondering where you went. They're imagining who's taken your place. Here's the metaphor I want you to sit with. Picture a throne left empty too long. At first, no one notices. The kingdom runs as usual. But the longer that throne stays empty, the more people begin to wonder, who will sit there next? That's exactly what's happening in their mind. They believed they were irreplaceable, that their seat in your life was permanent, but your silence has left that throne wide open, and now they fear someone else has taken it. And that fear, it's primal. It taps into something deep within us. The fear of being replaced, of losing a position we once took for granted. I've read posts from people around this exact time frame saying things like, "I know they haven't reached out, but are they talking to someone else? Did they move on?" They won't admit it out loud, not to their friends, not even to themselves fully. But it's gnawing at them. Here's the lie they've held onto since the start. I am irreplaceable. That belief kept them comfortable, kept their ego fed. But your silence, it's the proof they never wanted, that no one is truly irreplaceable when they take someone for granted. They might scroll through your social media, search for signs, maybe even convince themselves they're fine. But the uncertainty eats away at them. Psychologically, this is called ambiguous loss. It's when there's no clear closure, no definite ending, and the mind spirals trying to make sense of the unknown. Your silence keeps them in that ambiguous space, and as the days pass, the fear grows. It's no longer just about missing you. It's about the terrifying possibility that you've found someone else. And let's be honest, folks, it takes strength on your part to hold steady here. You might feel the urge to remind them, to show them you're still there. But remember, the longer the throne stays empty, the more they realize how valuable it was to begin with. So, let's claim this power today. Write this in the comments. I am the standard they measure others by. Say it loud. Say it proud. Show yourself. Show the world around you that you're not chasing to prove your worth. You are the measure by which others are judged. Stay with me, because the fear of replacement is only the beginning. Desperation wears many faces, and in the next stage, they'll start wearing every mask they can to cover that fear. Number 5, day 21 to 25. Desperation behind the mask. Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius delivers that straight shot of wisdom, and here, in days 21 through 25, that quote slices right through the facade they're desperately trying to maintain. Because while they're busy pretending to be unbothered, while they're plastering smiles across social media and throwing up quotes about self-love and moving on, their castle is crumbling beneath them. And all you've done? You've held your silence. Let me paint the metaphor for this phase. Picture a grand castle, towering stone walls high and mighty, banners flying in the breeze. From a distance it looks unshakable, doesn't it? But get closer, and you notice the cracks running deep through the foundation. Stones loosened, vines creeping in. The banners still fly, but the structure is weak, crumbling from the inside. That, my friends, is them right now. Posting more, smiling bigger, talking louder, not because they're thriving, but because they're desperate to convince themselves they are. This is the mask of desperation. The human ego, when it feels threatened, doesn't retreat quietly. No, it flares up. It overcompensates. Psychologically, this is a defense mechanism called reaction formation, where someone behaves in the exact opposite way of how they truly feel. They're hurting, they're missing you, they're spiraling inside, but they post that vacation selfie, that gym progress pic, that cryptic quote about independence, all to prove, mostly to themselves, that they're unfazed. But behind those banners, the castle shakes. The lie they're clinging to in these days is loud. I'm unbothered. That's the mantra they repeat every time they hit post, every time they flash that half-hearted smile in a selfie. But here's the truth, my friends. Desperation wears many faces. Sometimes it looks like confidence. Sometimes it looks like indifference. But the longer you hold steady in your silence, the more those masks start to slip. I've seen it countless times in stories shared on forums, posts from people saying, I blocked them everywhere, but I keep checking if they've seen my stories. I post things just in case they're watching. That, folks, is the castle crumbling. They want you to see their banners. They want to believe they're still in control. But control slipped through their fingers days ago. And here's the critical part. You must hold steady. This is the phase where your own mind plays tricks on you, where you might see them posting more, looking like they've moved on, and think, maybe I'm the one losing here. But that's just your fear meeting their performance. Remember, a crumbling castle can still fly its banners, but it doesn't change the cracks beneath. So, my friends, let's carve this into stone today. Write this in the comments. I hold steady while the world spins. Say it loud, say it proud. Show yourself. Show the world that while they dance to hide their fear, you remain unmoved, grounded in your power. Stay with me, because the mask can't stay on forever. Soon the cracks will spread too wide, and that castle, it's going to collapse. Number 6, day 26 to 28. The ego collapses inward. The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Marcus Aurelius laid that one down centuries ago, but right now, days 26 through 28, those words are unfolding inside their head like a storm they can't escape. This, my friends, is where the ego collapses inward. This is where the mask they've been wearing begins to crack, not because of anything you've said or done, but because silence has done its work. The show they've put on, the posts, the smiles, the bravado, that was all just an attempt to stay afloat. But now, they're sinking. Picture this clearly, a sinking ship out at sea, water rushing in faster than they can bail it out. They're throwing cargo overboard, tossing out anything they can to lighten the load, trying desperately to stay above water. That's their mind right now, scrambling, flailing, trying to discard old excuses and defenses just to survive. The ego, which once stood so tall, so sure, is now buckling under the pressure of its own weight. And here comes the most brutal shift of all. That self-blame begins creeping in. The same person who once thought, "They'll reach out first," now whispers to themselves, "Maybe I pushed too hard." The lie they've been repeating like a broken record, "I didn't need them anyway," starts sounding hollow. Every moment of your silence is proof they did need you, even though they fought to deny it. Psychologists call this phase cognitive dissonance, when someone's actions, beliefs, and feelings are out of sync, creating mental discomfort so intense they either have to change their behavior or confront the truth. And right now, they're feeling that dissonance hard. They told themselves they didn't need you, that they were better off without you. But the silence is a mirror they can't turn away from. It reflects back their need, raw and undeniable. I've read through countless confessions on forums, people who finally hit this wall. They go from feeling in control to spiraling, admitting they kept posting and pretending, but deep down they were drowning. They start revisiting old messages, scrolling through pictures, searching for moments they missed, asking themselves, "Was I too cold? Did I take them for granted? Was I the problem?" This is the ego collapsing inward, the once mighty ship. It's going under, and all the bravado, the defiance, the show they put on, that was just excess baggage, the first to get thrown overboard. But here's where your power truly shines. While they scramble in the storm, you remain the calm sea beneath them. You don't need to send a lifeboat. You don't need to toss them a rope. They built this ship. They steered it here. Now, they have to sit in the waters they churned. And I know, my friends, this phase can test your patience. You might sense their turmoil, see the cracks, and feel that pull to break the silence. But remember, need becomes visible in silence. If you rush in now, you rescue their ego, not their heart. So stand tall. Write this in the comments. I am the calm in their storm. Say it loud. Say it proud. Show yourself. Show the world that while their ego sinks, you rise steady and unshaken. Stay with me, folks, because as the ship goes under, the desperation will take one last shape. And when it does, that's when the real chase begins. Number 7, Day 29, the panic sets in. Power over others is weakness disguised as strength. Lao Tzu, folks. And here we are, Day 29, where that weakness is finally laid bare. This is the moment the panic sets in. The walls they built, the defenses they clung to, the false control they swore they held, all of it starts crumbling. Your silence owns them now, and in that desperation, they reach for any lifeline they can find. But here's the thing, they won't throw it directly. No, pride still clings on by its fingertips, and that makes their attempts all the more telling. Picture this, a sailor casting lines into a stormy sea, waves crashing, lightning flashing. They don't know what's out there, but they throw the bait anyway, hoping, just hoping for a bite. That's them. Tossing out vague texts, cryptic stories, random likes on your old posts, little nudges, nothing direct. They're not ready to admit they've lost control, but they're testing the waters. I've seen this play out countless times on relationship forums, people sharing that after weeks of silence. Suddenly hey, just checking in message pops up, or they post a story with a quote that sounds oddly like something meant for you. Folks, this is not coincidence. This is bait. This is them, panicking beneath the surface, but trying to look calm above it. The lie they're still gripping onto, even as their fingers slip. I'm still in control. They're telling themselves, if I reach out just a little, I can pull them back. I can test if they're still hooked. But here's the truth they haven't faced yet. The silence has flipped the script. You're not reacting. You're not chasing. And that silence speaks louder than any reply ever could. This phase is where your strength is most tested too, because these little baited lines, they're tempting. That vague text might pull at your heart. That cryptic story might make you wonder if they're hurting. And yes, they are. But if you bite now, you hand the power back. You confirm their control. You validate their ego. But you, my friends, you've come too far for that. You've held the line for 29 days. You've weathered the storm inside you. And now, as they scramble, as they cast their lines into these dark waters, you stay the course. Because this is where the silence does its final work. Psychology calls this the approach-avoidance conflict. They want to reach out, but fear what happens if they fully expose themselves. That's why they send half messages, throw half-hearted bait. But the longer you remain steady, the more that conflict eats at them. So let's mark this moment, my friends. Write this in the comments. I do not chase, I attract. Say it loud, say it proud. Show yourself. Show the world that you understand true power isn't about running after anyone. It's about standing firm while they circle back to you. Stay with me, because the storm hasn't fully broken yet. There's one more step, and when it comes, it's going to shift everything. Number 8. Day 30. The mirror. They can't escape. Man conquers the world by conquering himself. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, whispered that truth through the ages, and here, on day 30, it resounds louder than ever. This is the day of reckoning. The moment they can no longer run from themselves, no longer dodge the reflection that's been waiting in the silence. This is where the mirror they've been avoiding cracks wide open, and for the first time, they see the truth, raw, unfiltered, undeniable. I underestimated them. See, for 30 days, they've been fighting to maintain the illusion of control. Pride was their shield, ego their armor. But pride is fragile, my friends. Ego, even more so. Your silence has stripped away every layer they wrap themselves in. It wasn't just absence. It was a mirror, forcing them to look inward, to face everything they've been avoiding. Imagine this, a broken mirror, jagged edges reflecting back not the image they want to see, but the truth. No filters, no distortions, just the reality of who they are and how they handled what they once took for granted. That's where they're standing right now, before that shattered mirror, facing themselves without the mask. And let's be clear, this reflection, it's not pretty. It's the culmination of all the ripples, cracks and fractures that your silence has carved into their psyche over these 30 days. Every doubt, every moment of panic, every desperate reach, all of it staring back at them now. They told themselves, I'm in control. They convinced themselves, I don't need them. But today they know the truth. I've read the stories, folks. I've seen the confessions on forums where someone admits, I thought they'd come back. I thought I had time. And then suddenly they realize they don't. they realize you've changed, that you're not waiting, that the throne they thought was theirs sits empty, and they're the only ones standing before that broken mirror. This is the point where the ego shatters, where the final lie dies. They no longer ask, "Are they coming back?" They whisper instead, "Did I lose them for good?" And that question, that's the final sting. That's the consequence of underestimating the silent strength you've shown. But I know, my friends, this journey wasn't easy for you either. Holding the line for 30 days takes discipline most people never develop. You've stared down your own urges, battled your own ego, resisted the pull to break the silence, and in doing so, you conquered yourself first. That's where the true power lies, in mastering your own emotions, in letting silence reveal the truth without forcing it. So here we are, at the end of these 30 days. But really, this is only the beginning of you standing in your full power, the beginning of them realizing they lost something they never valued enough until it was gone. So, my friends, as we close this journey of 30 days of silence, remember, silence isn't passive. It's powerful. You've witnessed how it rewires the mind, shatters the ego, and reveals the truth without ever saying a word. If this spoke to you, if you feel that power rising within, smash that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget, drop your affirmation in the comments. I am the silence that reveals the truth. Show yourself. Show the world. Stay strong. Stay steady. Your silence is louder than their noise.